What's up, guys? Coming at you from Shenzhen for a quick video. I haven't uploaded anything in a while. My last video also didn't get pushed out as notifications to my subscribers for some reason. A lot of people have been saying that. That was a video on psychological warfare and propaganda. But yeah, I haven't had much time since then. We're in the middle of moving apartments, so that's what's been keeping us busy. But I thought I'd fire my camera up after I drop my kids off at school, which is when I have a little bit of extra time. And this video is going to be about a piece of artwork that a lot of people have already seen, but just in case you haven't, it was a piece of art made by a Chinese artist showing an Australian soldier holding a knife to the throat of an Afghan child. It was inspired based on real events. There was obviously a lot of reports that were leaked about Australian soldiers and what they were doing in Afghanistan just across the border from China. And slitting the throats of two 14-year-old children was one of those things. I think there was a 6-year-old child also. I can't remember if that was by the Australian forces or the American forces, but nonetheless, there was a lot of pretty terrible things going on that have been exposed. So this artist made this image inspired by those events, and a lot of people came out to condemn the image and show their outrage about this image, calling it a fake image, which first of all is a really weird premise. I mean, obviously these killings did not happen on top of a giant Australian flag, which was on top of a giant Afghan flag cut out in puzzle piece shapes. But it's of course not about that. It's of course not about that. It's about shifting blame. A lot of these people were avid China blamers, haters, whatever you want to call them, to begin with. But perhaps the more interesting thing is they are also people who didn't have anything to say about the actual underlying events that inspired the image to begin with. They didn't have anything to say about the actual slitting of children's throats in Afghanistan, but they did have something to say about the artwork that exposed and showed what it was that these soldiers were doing. It is just a weird thing to get excited about. Now, while a lot of people were upset at the artist himself, there were some people who were more upset at Zhao Lijian, a government official, sharing the image on his Twitter and saying that this is really atrocious what's happening in Australia. A lot of people were more upset by that point. And to be honest, in regards to that point, I have mixed feelings about it. I don't know whether he should have shared it or not. You know, China hasn't really engaged in the same sort of a thing, finger pointing and saying, look at what this country is doing, look at what that country is doing, quite like the West does towards China, with a lot of unfounded stuff, with a lot of things that don't have much evidence to back it up. But now they're doing it. They're saying, okay, you want to play this way? Then okay, we'll play this way. Let's talk about the things you're actually doing just across our border. And the reason I have mixed feelings about it, I had a discussion with an Australian Chinese guy who said, you know, there are a lot of politicians in Australia who have been starting to say, listen, we need to reevaluate our relationship with America and stop being their little deputy sheriff, as Bush once called them, in this region, and start looking at strengthening their relationship with China a bit more. And so would this cause some of those people to backtrack and say, okay, now China's playing dirty also, you know, do we want to, you know, maybe they're not going to be as enthusiastic to say that. I don't know if that will really happen or not. And, but I think it's an important thing to consider and think about and discuss. If I had to choose one, whether I were to say that I think I'm happy with it being shared or I think it absolutely should not have been shared, I think it raised a lot of awareness. I think it did a lot of good. Not only to say, you know what, China can play this game too. China can bite back, and there's a lot more to talk about your atrocities in terms of us. There's a lot more to talk about what you're doing to Muslim children while you're trying to pretend about Muslim kids in China. And ironically, by all of these people raising a stink about this piece of artwork, they ended up bringing more attention to the actual underlying events. Level-headed people who looked at this and said, well, hold on a second. Of course, this is a piece of artwork. And whoa, you did what in Afghanistan? Ironically, it brought a lot more attention towards what the West has been doing year after year in these kinds of countries. And so I think overall, I'd be on the side of saying I'm kind of glad he shared it. But again, there are some mixed feelings there. And I think, again, like I said, there should be some reflection and thought about this. The idea that some of the people who are criticizing China saying, you know, shut up and mind your own business, which is ironic because they never shut up and mind their own business, but that this is part of the democratic process and the people who caused these atrocities and did these crimes will be held accountable. There's already some people who have been fired. Nice penalty there for the level of crimes that were committed. But getting to a more important point, it is all BS. It's absolute BS that this is a point of reflection for them, and they're really going to examine what their forces were doing, and they're really apologetic about what was going on. It's absolute BS. The actual guy, David McBride, the actual Australian who leaked this information, who made this piece of artwork possible, the government is trying to put him in jail for 50 years. They would have rather this information not been out. So let's not talk about honesty, transparency, democracy, regret, being apologetic. It's absolute BS. They want to send a signal to any other military personnel that if you tell people about what we actually do in these areas, this is what's going to happen to you. It's an extension of what's happening to Julian Assange also, another Australian that no Australian politician is standing up for in any meaningful way and is letting America try to extradite him while he's in a maximum security prison for exposing Western war crimes. This is not something they want you to know about. This is not something they want to bring out and have to deal with. This is not something that everybody should just mind their own business about and they're going to self-correct. It's absolutely not. It's completely BS. Now, on to the actual, the people who are outraged at the artist himself and asking the artist to apologize. He released a video. Which I thought was really diplomatic, well-spoken, articulate, and just really well thought out. And I'm going to play that video for you now.
Hello， 然后观视频的小伙伴们，大家好，我是乌合麒麟，然后人在北京，刚下飞机啊，首都机场啊，给大家看看。然后下飞机之后发现好像出事了啊，被人挂了啊，然后被一个澳大利人给挂了啊，澳大利亚人，这嘴巴是不能要，被一个澳大利亚人给挂了啊，叫做莫里森，然后希望获得我的道歉。这我也是挺不好意思的啊，也非常能够理解你的这个莫里森现在的这个心情。然后但是这个我就还是奉劝这个莫里森，这个好好面对现实啊，这个把注意力和精力都放在本国事务上啊，比如说好好的管理一下自己国家驻外军队的这个纪律，以免再发生类似的这种国际惨剧，是吧？啊，也算是为人类做出贡献了啊。然后就少把精力放在这个去谴责以及对别国一个普普通通的画手啊施加压力啊，基于事实的创作上去施加压力上啊，这里就不多说了吧。然后这个也是坐了几个小时飞机，现在正准备回家。然后如果今天晚上有精力的话，可能会再画一张图啊，回应一下，好吧？再见。
All right, so there it is. That was his response to people asking him to apologize. And then he made a follow-up piece of artwork, which beautifully showed the situation. It showed an artist painting something with all of these journalists, with all these Western journalists pointing their cameras towards this artist. And the Prime Minister of Australia pointing at this artist also saying, apologize. While in the background, the military is off causing their atrocities and nobody's paying attention to them. I thought it perfectly illustrated the situation. This guy's good. There are a lot of other artists who joined in too. There was another really cool piece where there was an artist who then took the original artist's 2 images and put them into a piece of art and showed the Australian Prime Minister looking very distraught, saying, damn it, now they know what we've done. We've been exposed, or something along the lines of that. I thought that one was pretty good also. In terms of the other countries who have joined in to condemn this piece of artwork was France, which is pretty ironic because they are a country who says that drawing caricatures and insulting images of the Prophet Muhammad or making fun of Islam is an artistic freedom. This is something that artists should be able to do. Because obviously Muslims were the target in those pieces of artwork. But now that Western forces are the target of a piece of inspired artwork, they condemn it. So there's a nice piece of hypocrisy there. This is a story that there's just hypocrisy left, right, and center. State Department from the U.S., that's one also. What a department to talk about condemning this piece of artwork that is exposing Western war crimes. Considering, they're working very hard to make sure that their war crimes aren't exposed. Pompeo had sanctioned the International Criminal Court members who wanted to look into American troop war crimes in Afghanistan. They sanctioned the people who were opening the investigation and their family members who had nothing to do with the investigation itself. That's how hard they're trying to make sure that you don't learn about the similar kinds of things that they've done. But the State Department, it's interesting to see them say that this fake image is posted by a government official is unacceptable. Because it wasn't too long ago that they posted a fake image of a tag that says made by slave labor in China. Let's ignore the irony for a sec that America actually has slave labor programs through Unicor and all their other prison labor programs, which pays prisoners pennies per hour to do labor, which is sometimes non-optional. Let's ignore that for a second. It was okay for them to post a fake image of a tag saying made by slave labor in China. But it's not okay for China to post a piece of art that's showing what Western troops are doing just across the border from China also. And so that is, there's so many layers. I can keep going on and on and on about what's going on here. And, but with very, very little reflection, as I said earlier on in this video, about what actually happened, the atrocities that inspired this artwork to begin with. But we're starting to see China bite back a little bit. It wasn't only Zhao Lijian, this Chinese politician who posted it, which has been a string of seeing people from China bite back a little bit. There was another interesting thing that happened where a U.S. government official posted something very racist, very inflammatory. She said something along the lines of China has a history of 5,000 years of lying, cheating, and stealing, or something along the lines of that, and they're never going to change. So this is a person from, I believe, from the State Department also, saying something that the Secretary of State, Pompeo, literally said word for word is what the Americans do through their CIA organization. I'll play that video for you now.
I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like, we had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment.
Yeah, so there you go. This is a State Department now. This is, or a U.S. official saying that China lies, cheats, and steals for 5,000 years, when this is what their own organizations actually do. It's almost their entire motto. I had an overseas Chinese subscriber of mine who wanted me to talk about that tweet in a little bit more detail. They were quite afraid that that was just going to fuel the xenophobia that they're experiencing overseas even more, saying that China and Chinese people are liars, cheaters, and stealers, or thieves. Stealers, that's not a word. I almost did the same thing that Pompeo did in that video. They're afraid of what that's going to do. And I can go into so much more detail in how ignorant that tweet is, how racist it is, how ironic it is when you compare how America treats the world and what they do around the world when they're the superpower compared to the world's number one superpower compared to what China did back during the time that they were the world's number one superpower. There's so much depth that you could go into, but I think it's already apparent to the reasonable and average person why that tweet is problematic, racist, and ironic. But what I wanted to talk about more when I brought that tweet up was how Chen Weihua, I think his name is, he's the Deputy Bureau Chief of China Daily Europe. So not a politician, but somebody who works for the Chinese media, no less. His response, he had two responses. He had a longer one which took issue with the tweet and finished off by calling her, calling this official a bitch. And then there was another one where she got totally ratioed, and his response got way more likes than her original tweet, where he just said bitch. That's the tweet that got a lot of attention. And as a matter of fact, Marco Rubio even took that one. He didn't take the longer one, and he took a screenshot of it. And it's important to note that it was a screenshot, because he definitely didn't want people to see what he was responding to, because what he was responding to was absolutely unbelievably racist and inflammatory. So he took a screenshot of it and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your China Daily EU Deputy Bureau Chief," or whatever it is, to paint his picture and paint his story of China bad and Chinese people bad. And while Chen Weihua potentially doesn't understand how that particular insult could be seen as misogynistic, a lot of people seem to sympathize with his outburst and the way that he responded to that. I think maybe a better word could have been chosen, but I definitely applied some gender equality to it when I responded to Marco Rubio's tweet, and I said, "Yeah, you know what? This is really appalling, because it's a word that could have should have always been used to describe you also," or something along the lines of that. I can't remember how I worded it, but it shows a string of events where people are starting to bite back a little bit in China and get a little bit more aggressive with their words and say, "All right, guys, you want to play this way with us? We're gonna play ball." Especially when you consider over the past year, the Chinese flag has been redrawn in a cartoon image to show the coronavirus on it. Marco Rubio started the Interparliamentary Association on China, or IPAC, something like that, which is basically an organization designed to contain the rise of China. And all kinds of stuff is being done against China. And now all of a sudden you're seeing these outbursts coming back in the other direction. So how do I feel about it all? I don't know. I mean, a lot of people are really happy that China is, as some people have said, has grown a pair and is doing what has always been done to them. Maybe with that last tweet, with the last one from Chen Weihua, with a little bit harsh words than other people might use. Not in all cases, but in most cases. But it's still interesting to see what's going on and to see how this is going to continue developing. I don't really have any sort of a point to wrap this video up with. I just wanted to kind of put this topic out there, get a discussion going. And there's always some really interesting discussions that go on in the comment section of the videos I post sometimes. So let me know what you guys think about what's going on. Do you think it was right what, first of all, the artist did to raise awareness about what Australian troops are doing? Do you think it was acceptable for Zhao Lijian to repost this? And what do you think about Chen Weihua's tweet and his response to that highly racist and inflammatory tweet from Marsha Blackburn? And so with those questions posed, I'm going to abruptly end this video because I've got to get back to packing and getting ready to move apartments. And after I move, make some more videos, maybe do a live stream. But until then, I hope you guys are doing well and keeping safe. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.